Okay, this is a short tutorial over a couple of things that may not have been on your review. Okay, so if you have any questions about the review, let me know and I will create one and let me know which question you have a question about. Okay, on the test, you'll have a portion of the test called free response, where you're given something to the effect to evaluate, and you're given f of x equals negative x minus 6. Okay, that's what you have to evaluate. But the problem part that you're given is you have of f of x equals 12 and you have an f of 2. Okay, so if you have f of x equals 12, that means you have to substitute the 12 in for your f of x. But if you have a f of 2, okay, that means this is the same as saying that you substituted in for the value of x. Whereas this one, you're substituting in for the value of y, or f of x. So let's just look at it. So I'm going to go ahead and put my 12, because that's what I'm told that f of x is, in for f of x equals, and into the equation, negative x minus 6. Now I'm simply going to solve this as we've done in the past and in the last semester. It's going to be plus 6 on both sides. Now you have 18 equals a negative x. Well, you know we don't want a negative x. So you multiply by negative 1 on both sides, making that negative 18. X equals negative 18. Now that's different from this problem. If this was a problem, f of 2, and you still had to evaluate it for the same question here, I'm going to just substitute in for x, the 2. So I'm going to write down f of x as a part of the problem equals, so the 2 is a negative already in the problem, but the x is 2. So I'm just going to write 2 minus 6. Okay, and so I have f of x would equal to negative 8. Now don't get confused on this, all right? So because you see that the x is 2, okay, but the variable is a negative x, you just put 2 in for it and leave the negative. So whatever the x is, it's going to be a negative in the equation. Okay, here are the things that you have to know that will be on the test. Identify the domain and range. That is on the review. And if you can see that in problems 4 and also on the review, just look through it and you see many of the press questions. You have to determine what is the domain and what is the range. So look through for that on your review. Identify if the relation is a function or not. Okay, that's on numbers 1, 2, and 3. You have to determine if it's a function or not. I believe that's all you have to do on that one on the review. Plus, it's on your homework packet also, some more sample problems. You've got to determine which family the functions belong in. So looking at your review, you can determine the function families is number 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 relates to that. Make sure you understand that. And to interpret scatter plots, basically look back at your packet, and there are some questions about scatter plots, and we've talked about the trend. If it's going up there upwards, it's a positive trend. If it is going, let's plot Thor going downward, that means it's trending negatively. I don't think you had any trouble with that before. One of the things I want to bring out to you is you'll have a word problem on the test. So it's BB word problem, and the equation is going to be given, as in most of the word problems. And it may ask you to create a table or to finish a table. So if you had a table here and you had the x and y, let's say the x is 1, then that would be 2 times 1 is 2 plus 10 is 12, and so on and so forth. So the x was 2. That's 2 times 2 is 4, plus 10 is 14. So you would figure out, or you would complete a table on the test. And there's also a graph, and of course you would just fill in the graph from the table. Now, a couple of the vocabulary words we've talked about a little bit, just to remind you, rate of change. Rate of change. What is the rate of change? The rate of change is the number that is always by the x, which is, this would be the 2 in this problem. So on your test, the rate of change when it's in y equal is by the number by the x. So if they ask you for the rate of change, you would write that number down. That's another term for rate of change we're going to talk about in the next unit called slope. They're also going to tell you, ask you to determine the y-intercept. That means that when you graph that, it's going to cross the y at a certain point. Okay, but you can always determine what the y-intercept is based on the number in the problem. So whatever is added to the rate of change or subtracted from the rate of change, this is the y-intercept. And we didn't talk about that a whole lot, but we're going to talk about it even more in the next unit. So it must be in the form of y equals, like we've had before. Everything's a function. We've talked about in form f of x equal or y equals. Once you have it in that term, the number by the x will be determined as the rate of change or slope. And in the function, the y-intercept is what's added to or subtracted from it. That's where it crosses the y on the y-axis when you plot the points.